Good morning. I know, didn't have a pen though. Good morning. We are back with another episode of Morning Inspiration with Friends. It is your girl Tanisha Shanae, Miss Inspiration. We are here. It is a Monday. Hope you had a great weekend. Praying we all have a blessed and amazing week ahead of us. So today, I'm gonna just dive right into it. I don't really have a lot to talk about, but I have a lot to talk about this week. So I'm kind of breaking things up. So many of you know I wrote a book about healing in your season of single, dear single in love. You can go down to the description, get the book. It's the ebook and it's a physical copy, depending on your preference. You can definitely get that. Get that. Actually, I think I'm also going to start putting out when I come back next week. Autograph copies again. I have a couple of books on hand, and we'll probably start to put out autograph copies. So look out. Join me tomorrow. I will have a link for you, and I'll put a link down in the comments. So if you want to come back, you can go and see how you can get an autograph copy. That will be for a limited time. So for those of you that are watching this in the future, I apologize. But you can definitely go ahead to Amazon and you can support your girl and get your copy of Dear Single in Love. It is a great book. It is for anyone that is single who is not married. Um, so that is something that I have been talking about a lot. And just in my own journey as well, I have been single pretty much since 2021. That was the last time I was in a relationship. Prior to that, uh, the last one was, it was a 2020. I had a relationship. Um, but yeah, so I just been, doing a lot of healing, a lot of self reflection. And so I have these conversations quite often. Now, I will say that May of 2025, this year, a couple of months ago, I got very intentional. Um, One of my friends, actually, she was the one that told me, like, hey, Tanisha, you know, just give the app a consistent, because I'm telling y'all, I'm the type of person, I would get on these apps and I won't even stay on the app longer than 3 days, if 3 days, if I make it to 3 days. So I had to get to a space where it was just like, I'm going out. The one thing that I can say is I started to I won't even say put energy, because some days I got met men in public, like face to face, and I was like out here looking crazy, but we also was like a snow, like a rainstorm, and you're just trying to stay dry. So, but I just been like being more intentional, being more present, especially when I'm in public, so that yes, someone can actually come on and address me, and and talk to me, have a conversation. Um, and I think that's something that a lot of people don't talk about as often. But then also within the internal work, right? The preparation, the becoming the version of you, to becoming that, that woman, that man. And this is going for everyone. While Dear Single in Love might have been addressed for only women, this conversation is for all of us. What I am going to share is going to be for all of us, because this is what a lot of people do need. They need these kind of conversations to guide them, like, so how do I really start to heal? How do I really start to get to the space of receiving? So in May I started, and I said I really just want to uncover a lot of like those difficult questions. Now, working with my therapist, absolutely, she's giving me insight. Working with my journaling, talking to God, you're getting a lot of these revelations, and these are great revelations. However, sometimes it's like we're still not getting to that deep rooted issue. You're not really positioning your heart for to receive that real love, that healthy love. That's what I like to call it, healthy love. And so when I started to think about how to use ChatGPT, I I don't know where I got this prompt from. Sorry, my hand itches so bad. I don't know where I got that prompt from, but I got a prompt, and let me see if I can remember the exact question. But it was just like, tell me about my love life or something like that. Or tell me, and that was kind of where I got started with preparing myself, right? And what I mean by that is I had to get to a space where I had to uncover a lot of triggers. I had to uncover a lot of truths about my dating history, my dating style, my attachment styles. Like there's a lot that makes us who we are that a lot of people are not really ready to uncover. And so because they're not ready to uncover that, they they continue to stay in the same cycle. And that was the one thing I did not want. I did not want to continue into the same cycles. I wanted to be free from the narratives that I used to speak and that people around me were speaking. So friends and family, associates, the things that I was consuming on social media, I was just like, no, I cannot and I do not want to, because that is not going to help me to become that the person that God wants to send into my life needs, right? So we have to change a lot of these different narratives. We have to do that particular work so that we can prepare for love to become more, right? And to become that person, to live and embody that, even if this person is not there, this person is not here yet. So how do you receive love? How do you are you affectionate? Right? You got to start asking all of these different deep rooted questions. I'm trying to find Chat GPT is sorry. I hate to like have to do this, but this is what I have to do. But yeah, so I started with this question, and I think the question is not that question. Great. Sorry. So I believe the first question that I asked this particular chat, and this has been a chat that I've been utilizing from the beginning of May. So the question was, be brutally honest and tell me about me and my love life, right? And the reason why that question was very good, because again, it's now going to pull. Now, again, if you don't use ChatGPT, it is going to be harder, because it's not going to be able to build off of who you are as a person. But the more that it knows about you, the more that if you are already using it, and if you are using it properly, when you ask that question, it's going to start giving you some insight. So I have shared this before of how like you can take this and now you can filter, have these conversations, and then the things that are too hard for you, you might want to go to your therapist. You might want to, continue find you a dating coach. One of my friends, I ran into her a couple of weeks ago. She's now invested in with a dating coach, and that's working out for her. And so I started to do this. And what I started to do was just like research different things about myself that I had knowledge of, but I didn't have full clear vision of who I was. And so when I started to do that, and started just with that one question, it gave me so much that it was like I had a lot that I can really filter through. I had a lot that I can actually sit and say, you know what? Am I really ready for this? So when I first asked that question, I'm only going to share one part of it that um that made me like start moving and start realizing that I might be, not on the right path emotionally or fully prepared back in May. So it sets in my from that one particular question, one of the points says, you haven't fully chosen partnership. You prepare for it, but you haven't committed to receiving it. And that stuck out for me a lot, because I think that a lot of us think that we're ready for things. I think that a lot of people feel as though because they have been single for a long time that they're ready for things. I think people they have not gotten to a space to realize that just because you remove yourself from an environment doesn't mean that you are truly ready. And I've heard many people say that quite often. I know one person who has said that was Dr. Brian. I forgot her first name, but she was one of the individuals, one of the people that I heard say it, and it just like kept on making sense. Like, yes, everyone thinks that healing is has to be 100% isolated, and I do believe that there is a season of isolation. There's a season that you have to do some work by yourself, and then there's going to be a season that you have to come back into the environment so that you can really see, are you ready, or just kind of like keep getting some kind of follow through and follow up for yourself. So again, what ChatGPT said is like, yeah, you've done the inner work, you prayed, you healed, you even moved, you expanded, but energetically you're still slightly and improve yourself to me stance, waiting to be shown something divine instead of deeply embodying that you're already worthy of a deeply aligned reciprocal real love. Mm. So I'm just like, all right, you know what? Because it's true, right? So many of us, we're just like, and I was in this like, you got to prove to me, because I've been tired, I've been used before, and it's just not. That's not the way that it's supposed to be. So as I continue to go through this process, and started to just ask myself a lot of these very difficult questions, it really gave me so much more insight as to like, how do I navigate this and how do I help other people to have these same conversations wherever they are in their process. Right now, I'm just speaking about May, the month of May. If you follow me on TikTok, I think I'm gonna just do a little bit more of a deep dive into this on my TikTok channel, which is Miss Inspiration 25. So what I did is, so I just want us to start having these conversations. And again, when I use Chat GPT, it's just more so to uncover and to give me those hard questions. I have set it up and I will prompt it, you know, give me those questions that you think I am afraid to answer. Give me those questions that you think that are difficult for me to answer. Because I think that, especially in my experience, I remember working with a dating coach back in 2021, and she said the same thing. Like, so many times we think that we know the answers for things until they actually happen, and then we're stuttering and we can't articulate our thoughts and our feelings and our desires. So that's why that has become even more important for me, because I want to be able to have those conversations with that person whenever they do arrive, or with any person when you're in this process of getting to know someone. So many people don't know what they want. So many people they don't know what partnership looks like. They don't know how they handle difficult situations, right? So you know what you're dealing with. You go through these things every single day, but you just don't know how to articulate, right? And everybody can't sit and wait to see how you deal with it. Some people kind of just need a heads up of, yeah, this is how I do things. So this way they can kind of also hold you accountable, because it's like, oh, well, you said that this is how you handle things. So how is it that this is how you handle things, but then you're over here? Okay. So going back to these hard questions. So one thing that ChatGPT did was it gave me a heart inventory. And so it gave me a bunch of questions that I would need to ask myself, or I would need to know, so I'll be able to answer this question whenever this person decides to pop into my life. So like, what do you truly want in a relationship right now? Right. And so it gives you a little bit more prompts in depth, so that it can kind of gauge you. And it said like, don't list what sounds good, name what your heart aches for. Is this companionship, partnership, marriage, freedom with love, emotional consistency? Now, I can honestly say I know people out there that truly are okay, and I think that if they were honest with themselves, they would be okay in like a poly relationship, right? Not something that's monogamous, but they're forcing themselves because society has told them this is what you're supposed to be. But that's not what they desire. And that's something that I often say. If people figure out what it is that they want, and they stand firm in that, and they truly, truly desire that, then they can go ahead and they can play in the right sandbox. Right now, we have too many people playing in the wrong sandboxes. So this is why they can't position themselves, because they don't know where they want to be. They're kind of like floating every single where. Maybe I think I want to do this. Maybe I want to do this. No, Figure out what it is that you truly want. In order for you to position your heart for your future, you have to have a very clear picture of what this actually looks like. Okay. This way, no one can come along and they can stray you and manipulate you. And then we got a whole nother group of people screaming online talking about everybody's a narcissist. Everyone is not. Sometimes we just ignore things. All right. So yeah, they gave me a lot of great questions. When you imagine being fully loved, what does that look like, feel like, smell like, move like? Right? I love this one. I remember doing this one. I mean, just there's certain things that I had to realize when it's like fully loved, and this is one thing I love how they position this question is you're tapping into all senses. So many times we don't tap into senses. What does it smell like? What does it feel like? All right, I don't think it says what it tastes like. It doesn't say what it tastes like. No. What does it move like? Right. And so I know one thing that I look for and I get excited for. And I know that for me, this is how I would know like this is the right type of love, is that it feels safe. So like when I'm in your arms, I just have like this ease. I can just like collapse, being a single woman, going out here, conquering challenges and life. Come on, Paula. Challenges in life, we're carrying a whole bunch of everything. So I would love to be in that relationship where I feel safe, where I can just, I don't have to, I'm not releasing everything onto him, but I can just like relax into that and I can lean into it. You know, what does it, what does it look like? What does it feel like? What does it smell like? So you want to start really kind of creating this vision. Now, the one thing that we all know is that although we can write this vision, doesn't mean that it's going to become a checklist. Okay. Don't have this being a checklist, but also don't ignore everything. So now, if you want to feel safe and you want to lean into, when you hug that person, you just feel like the world has melted around and like nothing else matters. And you meet someone and you get hypersensitive and it's like you got that butterflies in the gut and everything gets spidey senses, then that's not the same thing, right? Don't ignore that. So I want you to make sure that you're really understanding that, right? So as you're asking yourself these questions, and I'm only going to go over the first 3 questions, we'll continue the rest of the week and we'll just keep having these kind of conversations. Now, this was a good one, and I think this was a great question that ChatGPT brought to me because of the fact of many of you know I have gone through extreme weight loss transformation from 2016 to about 2021, 2022 when I started to struggle and I gained the weight back. So ChatGPT asked me like, what version of yourself do you believe is most worthy of love? And so it gives, like I said, always gives you like a little bit more. And it said, is it healed you, skinnier you, more success for you? Why do you believe that version deserves the love and not present day you? And so for me, I don't feel as though that skinny Tanisha deserves more love or better love than heavier Tanisha. I don't believe that at all. But someone out there might believe that. Someone out there might believe, and we hear people talk about this, right? Well, I'll be a great person to love when I'm making 6 figures, or I'll be a great person to love when I lose 15 pounds, or when I, get a new car, right? We put these stipulations on ourselves, and it's like, no, the version of you today is worthy of love. You just got to get to that point of believing that. So this is the reason why, if this is something that might come up for you and you're like, I really don't know how I can get to that point of believing that, then this way I would say, take that conversation to your therapist, go to your dating coach, go to someone who is a married person who is in a healthy relationship, who can kind of help navigate you and prepare you for that. We have so many different ways that we can do this as you are positioning yourself. So again, since May of this year, I've been very intentional, and I'm just like, I just want to get back into the environment of positioning myself for love again, and not running away from it. One of the things that people don't know about me when it comes to relationship, and I don't even mention this in the book, but I do have a history of running, right? If it gets too hard and I'm like, it's a little uncomfortable, I put on the running shoes and I'm out the door. And I know that from even when working with my life coach back in 2021, like that is one thing that I have been very intentional about not trying to do. Although like, my sister would say sometimes, oh, the person makes one mistake and you're ready to throw them out. And I'm like, what? But when I had to, again, when you're self-reflecting and you got to be honest, right? Because again, the person that God is going to send into your life, that person doesn't want to become anxious because they don't know that because they sneezed the wrong way that you're going to pack up and you're going to leave, because there are people out there that do that. I often think about, I have a friend from high school, ran into her many years ago, and we just happened to got into the conversation of relationships. And she mentioned, yeah, I was talking to this dude and he was snoring and he had to go. We had to end that. And I was just like, because he snores? Like something that he doesn't really have control over. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know that there's been times I'm dead tired and I snore. And just envision if that's the first time you and that person are sleeping in the bed together and that person has that type of mindset, that person is gonna like just ghost you because you're snoring. And I'm just like, dang, like we're really living in some bad times. But it made me realize those kind of conversations, and it was just like, yeah, Tanisha, you can't just leave just because if it's truly not a non-negotiable, right? And that's something that we'll talk about a little bit more again, because again, positioning yourself is knowing what are your non-negotiables. That's another question a lot of people don't know the answer to. Some people are just out here like just going with the flow, right? They just trying to figure life out. So they don't know what their non-negotiables are. And so this is the reason why when maybe they're having conversations with individuals on dating apps, or they meet someone in public or at an event, I don't know what the answer is to that. So we just really just gotta do this work, right? This is what Dear Single and Love is about. There's a whole chapter of healing, right? You have to start healing. So I do want to give you a prompt that you can utilize for today, for this particular conversation. And I think that I put it in it might be down in the description as well. So what parts of me are still healing before I can fully receive the love I want? What parts of me are still healing? And again, that's something that you have to be able to answer for yourself. Everyone is at a different stage. Some people have not done any work. Some people have started and they've done a lot of work. It really depends on where you are. But this is where I say, if you're ready to get back into that scene, if you're ready to find that, you get in that heart. And again, it's nothing wrong with wanting love, right? There's nothing wrong with that. And if you are around people, because I've been around people, just let it come to you, but it can't come to you. But if you're also not doing anything, right? Because I hear this a lot and I think about this a lot. There's a lot of people who just stay single for years and they do nothing. They don't address nothing. They don't address anything. They don't, the triggers, the trauma, they hate all of their exes. Every man ain't this. Every woman is a gold digger, right? We hear these conversations, but the one thing they will say was, "I'm good because I haven't been with anyone." But you haven't faced anything either. You have not done that hard self-reflection so that you can be accountable, right? When I started this healing journey in 2012, one of the first challenges I had to face was the relationship that I was in at that present time. And at that present time, it was so unhealthy and it was not suiting me. It was not benefiting me in any capacity. And I had to do some internal work to be able to make a very conscious decision if this relationship was benefiting me, and it wasn't. And that was actually one of the first times in a long time that I walked away from a situation that I was not satisfied and I was not happy. I think it was like kind of after that where it was just put the shoes on. Now I started running because it was like I ignored a lot of different things. That's what healing does sometimes. Sometimes you start realizing I ignored everything in the past. And so when you start healing, you start running from everything, right? And now it's like I'm finding myself finding that balance again, right? And I talk about this a lot with my therapist. I always say I don't have a middle ground. I'm either I really like you or I don't like you at all. There's no middle ground. And now what Tanisha is doing, what I am doing, I say Tanisha, I'm talking myself in third person. But now what I am doing is I'm looking at my life of how do I create this middle ground? How do I have that balance so that I don't put on the sneakers every time that I see something? And in my mind, it's like, oh, again, you cough wrong, or you took too long to respond. It's a wrap, right? We can't do that. That's not healthy. That is not wise at all. But yeah, so I just wanted, like I said, I wanted to start having these conversations, sharing a little bit about how I have been navigating, because I do get this question quite often from singles. They're just always like, well, I don't like, how do you do this? Like, what are you asking yourself? So I'm sharing. So this video, I went over 3 questions that I have personally gone through, and I started to ask. Well, actually, it's 4 questions, because the first prompt is going to introduce you and bring you, and this is what it fed me based off of what it knows about me and my journey. And then those 3 questions, I was able to sit and meditate. And, like I said, one of the questions, I actually had to go to my therapist and like, hey, I need help reflecting on this because I don't see it, or I think I'm doing this right, because sometimes we think that we're doing something right and we're not. So I just wanted to share that. This is going to be the topic for this week. If you want to go ahead and get your copy of Dear Single in Love, you can go right ahead. Tomorrow, if you want to hold off, because tomorrow I will add a link so that you want to get an autographed copy. I have 20 books that I can autograph and mail out to you. So if you want an autographed copy, wait until tomorrow. But if not, you can go down to the description and order it from Amazon. It'll be there in 2 days. Or you can get the what's that called? Ebook, right? So I am your girl, Tanisha Shanae. I'm going to leave you with one quick video that is a book review that someone did about Dear Single in Love. And we'll be back here tomorrow as we continue to have these amazing conversations. So share this video, like it, and I hope that you will come back tomorrow as we continue to navigate, preparing, and positioning our hearts for real love.
And I have the Kindle version of your book. And like I said, I highly recommend this book. It is, and I've been, since I've been in Christ, past 12 years, I've read a lot of Christian books, but this book is, relationship wise, it is what you need. So you can get the understanding of how do I choose the right person? How do I, overcome heartache, as we talked about? How do I get in the will of God? Get that book, order it, and read it, and be sure she definitely is anointed to serve God in this capacity. And we thank you.